Well. Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. Finished up another pound of ground beef and ready for some good old Magic and Money analysis right here, right now on a lovely Tuesday morning. Unfortunately, in the Nordic countries, the sun does not set, so sleep is not something that really is too much had during the summer months. But I do want to wish you all, a nice and restful and relaxing and profitable Tuesday. And of course, wish you the best, the happiest of the happiest. Waste no more time. Let's get in a live scene right here, right now, as a teleportation has been initiated, and there it is. There she is. Bitcoin in all of her beautiful, big boned glory, if you want to call it that. Very good close on the daily yesterday. We did close back above the yellow 21 exponential moving average right over here, which was at that 79.30-ish region. So overall, Bitcoin is kind of creating a ledge of support. And the way that I look at this is that everyone's talking about a head and shoulders right now. Everyone's saying, guys, we have a head and shoulders. Guys, have you seen the head and shoulders? Guys, is there a head and shoulders? Because I think there's a head and shoulders on my head and shoulders. What should I do now? And well, usually when everyone's saying the same thing, what happens? Well, a little bit of a fake out, a little bit of a farce, more accurately speaking. So I like to say this a lot, and I want to start off with this sort of a statement that when we're talking about patterns, it's really, really important to understand the success rate of patterns, especially when talking about counter trend patterns. And we're looking at a counter trend pattern right here. This head and shoulders traditionally a bearish pattern, breaks to the downside, but we've been in about a 4 to 5 month uptrend. And the macro trend, more importantly, is bullish. So when we're talking about counter trend patterns, we are seeing a bearish pattern and overall macro bullish trend here. So to me, and to what the statistics say, that is usually not something that I would really be going off. In fact, most of the time these things are painted in to fake out and fuck with the less sophisticated analysisizers and people watching those other analysisizers videos. So usually, more often than not, I do not call it head and shoulders just because they actually have a pretty small strike rate in cryptocurrencies. I think it's like less than 40%. It might be around 30% when we're talking about counter trends. So it's not too good. And overall, the more important thing to me is that the way to trade this, even if it was a head and shoulders, is the same as what I'm about to do right now. And essentially, as long as we're above this about 76.50-ish pivot, there's really no reason to be acting like this is even a topic of consideration. We've seen this so many times where Bitcoin will paint in a pattern like this and then just never have follow through, and we actually just end up not even taking out the wicks of the low prior. What do I mean by that? Well, I basically mean this whole run past for the past like 4 or 5 months, you've seen Bitcoin have these very aggressive downwards movements, right? We had one right over here, we had one right over there, 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 and Bitcoin will have these very, very aggressive and intense downwards movements, but they never get any follow through. And we've actually seen another form of it happening over the past week or so, week and a half, going all the way over from here on this first down to about 7,500. And each and every time that Bitcoin tries to go lower, it actually gets picked up a few bucks higher than the last one. So this low was at 74.32, this low was at 74.49, this low was at 75.11, this low was at 75.23. And that to me is important because it does imply that this is actually getting reaccumulated rather than distributed on, which would imply more bullish, I guess a little bit more in the future, whereas distribution would imply more bearish, obviously. So if we were to break below this area, then yes, then we could talk about head and shoulders type shit, and we could talk about targets down into the mid to low 6,000s. But right here, right now, I don't think that that's appropriate, and I do believe that if this was going to operate as a head and shoulders, we would have seen a breakdown actually during yesterday's daily dildo. In fact, what we saw during yesterday was we saw a beautiful comeback up above the yellow 21. So to me, that tells me that it's okay to hold some longs right here. I do still hold my longs that I started yesterday. Again, a little bit of a surprise long on my own behalf. I did get lucky with this 78.50 fill, which for full transparency, I think I bought. Wait, where's my trade history? Show all futures. Yeah, there we go. It looks like I bought 100,000 contracts at about 78.50 yesterday, and that was just based off of the lower time frames getting above the pivot that we spoke about, which was this guy right over here, the 78.50 pivot. I put in a buy order on those June futures, and I got very lucky to get filled. Actually, to be very direct with you, I got very lucky. That was not like professional trading or anything like that. It's just I put in an order, and just happened to be that I caught one of the counter wicks relatively well. So I'll hold on to that, and as long as we hold this 4-hour support right here, which is going to be about 78 80-ish area. Now, you will notice on the lower time frames, it is a little bit less, I'd say the lower time frames actually look more shaky than the higher time frames, which is something that you actually very rarely see. And what I mean by that is that the 4 hour right over here looks like it wants to come down. Now the daily, again, daily closing above the yellow 21 like this looks good to me, from everything that I essentially look at. We do see daily Stochs crossing back up to the upside, and we do see, a time frame, half that time frame on a 12 hour headed up as well. And we do see 2-day Stochs actually, losing their momentum to the downside. So usually when I see a setup like that, it does kind of set up the medium term trend, so to speak. So again, these sorts of things need to be taken into consideration with each other. But do the low time frames signal a little bit of weakness here? Yes, absolutely. Actually, looking at the 4 hour once again, I would say that it kind of does look like it wants to come back down and take a stab at 78.80, 78.90-ish region, test the 200 simple and also the yellow 21 exponential moving average, which I would look for as a governor if Bitcoin is going to actually reaccumulate during this region and work its way onwards and upwards. But for right now, keep your eyes on that area, because if the lower time frames do give back this area, then does it become a little bit more sketchy? Yeah, absolutely. It does become a little bit more sketchy. But keep in mind, if you want the fail safe of the fail safe, the purple 200 exponential moving average on the 4 hour total time frame is what I'd be looking for. Bitcoin has just been unable to break this for 4 or 5 months, going all the way back to February. How long is that? February, March, April, May, June. Okay, so working on 5 months. We're talking about. And going back all the way over here, ever since Bitcoin essentially switched up the trend, it's been using this purple 200 exponential and also the white 200 simple, just running it all the way through, as you can see. Now, Bitcoin did break the 200 simple over the weekend, but that also was some weekend bullshit. So I'm not necessarily sure how much weight I put on that, especially at being a lower time frame during the weekend hours, and more importantly, the 200 exponential moving average still being that beautiful governor saying, not so fast, bears. So that's what I'd be looking at from these sort of perspectives. The 4 hour and the daily are probably holding the most weight right now. The 4 hour is going to give you the first warning signal if this does want to fall apart, but until that actually happens, I would actually be aligning with a little bit, more than anything, it's probably going to be more boring than anything. Bullish or bearish isn't really the right word. I think like general drift up as long as we hold that area, but the big thing with that is that the second that we actually give this away, then we can start talking about some downwards targets. But again, 76.50, that critical area, as I kind of I felt like I was on something right there. Anyways, by the same token, if we put on our drawing tools, go back on over to BitMexico, the same chart that we've been looking at. Actually, let me get rid of this. That was just just fucking around on the lower time frames, very low time frame bullshit. But we do see the blue box territory still being that impetus for resistance. Oh yes, that was the point that I was trying to make. Okay, so I'm not necessarily bullish or bearish on Bitcoin. I don't want to make it sound like it's time to like FOMO into the upside or anything like that. No, not really. I think that Bitcoin's more likely than anything just to take its time going sideways and putting in time, especially within this region. As it kind of bores everyone to death, all of the bears are going to be thinking, holy shit, I better short this thing down to 6,000 right fucking now. And all of the bulls are going to be thinking, oh my god, this thing's going to 10,000 today, tomorrow, and every day afterwards. It's like just going to keep on going there. Well, no, what's more likely to happen is that if this is going to remain bullish, we probably do spend some time just going sideways here. So again, I wouldn't be bearish until we actually break this level down around here. Nothing's changed by that measure for the past for the past week and a half. And until that happens, I guess I'm generally looking for a drift upwards, but need to see this blue box territory taken out to the upside at about 81.50 before I start talking about targets in the mid to higher 8,000s. 8,600 would be the next area of interest, but of course at that point in time we can talk about areas of interest, but it's likely to pull a Litecoin and work its way back to the prior high and beyond, most likely. So again, looking at Mrs. Litecoin, and I think that she's been a damn good guide. Beautiful close on the daily, absolutely beautiful. And I do think that Litecoin does have the potential here to put the market in her backpack and carry it upwards and onwards. She's just such a beautiful bitch. And you know what? A close like this, to start the week off is incredibly powerful. Not only that, but we do see daily Stochs very, very erect. They are powerfully erect. They are painfully erect. And you can see right over here, we have created a nice trend line. So I would be looking for Litecoin to actually carry out this rally, running off this trend line. And each and every time that we touch down on this trend line, probably going to be a decent entry. Obviously there will be an apex somewhere, but that's probably not coming in until the end of the month. So again, Litecoin looking damn good to me, and all higher time frames agree. We see daily looking strong, we see weekly looking very, very strong. Weekly Stokes back up and at 'em, and really from a weekly perspective, next big area of interest is going to be like 145 to 148 region. So do keep your eyes on that. From a longer term perspective, obviously I don't think it's happening today or tomorrow, but longer term, if this run does transpire to that region, I would be looking for some counter trend pressure. Going down to lower time frames, again, overall good. We did just break out of this 122-ish region right over here. It has been, for what I consider, retested at 124.5, and that's fine by me. Looking at it's fine by me. It has to check off by Krown. Jesus Christ, so silly. Sorry about that. Anyways, 4-hour Stokes headed back up. I mean, again, looking okay. Do we see any of the lower time frames signaling some weakness? We do see some bearish divergence on the hourly, but has that already played out? I would say that has mostly played out. And if we did come back down to 126.25, I'd probably be okay. Again, float with the higher time frames here. The lower time frames, yeah, they can look bullish and bearish a multitude of times within a whole day period, but the higher time frames are all kind of speaking volumes right now. We do see 12-hour Stokes still headed up. We do see 12-hour RSI looking very constructive within this region. Yes, people are going to call this bearish divergence. It's not bearish divergence. It's really, really silly. We don't even have a local high in just yet. But the next time that we do set in one, then yes, we will have to deal with it. But for right now, not necessarily, and that would suggest that we have some more up. And same thing with the daily. I'm not bearish on anything that looks like this. Above all major movement averages, has a golden cross on the daily. Generally good, just generally damn good. Looking at two-day Stokes probably gonna be crossed back up to the upside. Yes, they are. And again, just another powerful move. This has been a very constructive run put by a beautiful little bitch, and I do think that it has some more to go. Yeah, looking at the 3-day, I mean, you can see very clearly here, 3-day3-day RSI. Trading well above that exponential and looking very constructive after about a couple weeks of consolidation within this region. Yeah, that's looking pretty fucking good to me. So overall, I wanted to get that out there, and I do think that Litecoin doing things like this right now is good for the overall market. We've just been seeing all of the major caps, all the top caps, kind of take turns leading this market to the upside. Whether it's Litecoin, whether it's EOS, whether it's Bcash, whether it's Ethereum, Ethereum not so much. In some cases Ripple, and I'm sure a few other ones, which if I forgot your favorite one, please don't get mad at me. It's slipping my mind right now. And of course Bitcoin taking its own turns, and that seems to be the way that this market's just been kind of pushing upwards and onwards in this pretty constructive manner. So again, keeping all those things in mind, I would be running with those assumptions as long as we maintain those areas, of course. Looking at the weekly, it is worth mentioning though, if I was just looking at the weekly for Bitcoin, I would be looking for a move downwards. So it is something to consider as time chugs along. But for right now, lower time frames are suggesting that is not a topic of consideration like this exact moment, so to speak. But if I am just looking at the weekly right here, it's very difficult to ignore this. We do see weekly Stokes crossing the downside that is confirmed. We've been just straight up and powerfully up for the past 5 months since early February, and you can see from a historical standpoint that typically speaking, when we get into these more critical ranges, those do call some damn good tops. I mean, this was your 20,000 top in December 2017. This was your December January low in 2019. Overall they do get the action pretty damn well for the macro, and we do see weekly Jewel firing off a warning signal, a pretty damn strong warning signal as well, as the light blue starts to angle itself down. So a negative slope on that usually isn't the best indications, although that's certainly not a signal in the way that the Jewel is intended to be used, but a little bit of a scare here. So not only that, but we do see weekly Challenger bands well above the price action, so we are corralled by this, and you can see that the median Challenger band is all the way at 5,400. I mean 5,450 really, which makes very little difference. $50 on a 5,000 level. My point here is that Bitcoin does want to move its way down. It does have some downside here, don't get me wrong. So that 7650-ish area is a massive pivot. If we do lose that area, then we will be talking about, of course there's going to be targets at the 71 to 7200-ish region. Don't get me wrong in that. It is still very much apparent, and we will likely have a bounce there. Does it actually hold up over time? that's a question that we'll have to come back to later. But for right now, I would say all, time frames on Bitcoin, everything daily and lower, or sorry, even to a 2-day and lower look okay. 3-day and up, a little bit under pressure, but 3 days still, looking at this, it does look to me that we've already tested that 7200-ish level, basically basing off of this white 200 simple on the 3 days. So I would say that does lessen the chance that if Bitcoin does initiate the bearish momentum that 71, 7200, holds up over time, I think that it would probably just be a low time frame bounce and eventually rolling over. And if we do break this area, we're going to be talking about not down to the low 7,000, we're going to be talking down to low 6,000s more like. But for right now, like I said, as long as Bitcoin maintains the areas that we just spoke about, it's okay. It's not. I mean, it's just it's kind of lackluster. And I think that more than anything, we're just going to be frustrating a lot of people, a lot of over aggressive traders. I mean, people always want to be in a trade, right? It's like a fallacy of the mind that you feel like you always have to be in a trade. More often than not, there's just not a trade to be made. And if I didn't get into my position yesterday, I would have no interest in trading this range. I mean, in fact, you could make this quite simple. You could say, hey, let's do the two blue box analysis. Actually, let's do this right now. Very fucking simple. Very fucking simple. And let's put in our lower blue box right over here. And you can see anything between these two blue boxes doesn't mean shit. Basically doesn't mean shit. Can you make trades off that? Well, yeah, shorting the top blue box and buying the low blue box has been pretty fucking good for the last couple weeks. So you can certainly make trades off of it. But as far as like actual market moves, well, as long as we're within this range, really just no real decisive direction. If anything, I'd kind of have to say up, I guess, based off the daily, but again, it's not so cut and dry. Litecoin looking bullish does help the bullish case, absolutely. If I did have to lean one way here, I would lean to the upside. As I've shown, I want to be extremely transparent with this. All my positions right here, basically buying 100,000 contracts at 78.50. But I'm happy to get out of that position if we actually lose this area right here, this 78.80-ish region. I'm happy to get out of that position and just take the few dollars of profit that I guess it'll have at that point. And until we actually resolve one of these boxes, we're not really actually going to have like a full-on, a full-on in-your-face, this is distribution or this is reaccumulation. Now, I would say the way that it's kind of situated right now would suggest reaccumulation, especially with the rising bottoms. But the second that we break below this blue box right over here, yeah, it's no that goes out the window. And yes, we'll likely be talking about targets in the 6,000s, but for right now, I just don't think it's too appropriate. Let's see, I didn't really go over the medium time frames. Look at the 6 hour here. Yeah, 6 hour looking a little bit droopy, I suppose. We do see 6 hour Stokes up. We do see 6 hour RSI kind of regaining this composure above the exponential. But are we putting in hidden bearish divergence here? We are. We actually do have some hidden bearish divergence on the 6 hours. So if I did have to call the next move on the very low time frames, I would say to the downside. And it's kind of looking like that right now. We do see hourly Stokes still down as well, to be fair. So yeah, 6 hour. Do we have 3 hour down as well? 3 hours going to be down as well. Yeah. So we have 1 hour, 3 hour, and and 6 hour bearish, hidden bearish divergence. So yeah, I would be saying that we probably do have a little bit of a sweep downwards here on the lower time frames, but until it actually breaks one of these blue boxes, nothing's really changed from the more medium time frame perspective. Looking at 8 hour, do we have hidden bearish divergence here? We actually do not. Yeah, we actually don't. So it's again, it's not so cut and dry. It's not so cut and dry, and I'm probably not too helpful today. But again, more often than not, there's just not trades to be made, and it can certainly help to talk these sort of things out. Just because, well, if I completely understand this, but when I'm trading on my own, when I'm just kind of like sitting in my own little cave and watching these things and trying to figure out reasons for trades, a lot of the times you'll kind of talk yourself into a trade that you probably wouldn't have taken in like basically any other situation, right? Boredom trades are a massive killer of accounts since the dawn of time. Looking at CMEs over here, we do see CMEs having very obvious rising bottoms. Actually, we do see CME daily Stokes actually still headed down while price action has been flat. Usually this aligns with reaccumulation. I'd still kind of do lean to the upside here. Even within this range, could we come back down and test 7,700? Yeah, very possible. But until this area breaks, I just don't think it's appropriate just yet. What do we have on weekly CMEs? Do we have anything new here? Yeah, not really getting too much off this. I mean, the red 10 simple is so far below. That is a little bit concerning there, but again, I think it's just a little bit too early to call anything right here. The obvious markers for changes in behavior are, were those blue boxes, and as long as we're between there, there's not really too much else to make out of it. Let's go check out the other top shitcoins. Where's Mr. Beaterall? Where is that Mr. Beater? Or actually, before we do that, let's do something that we haven't done in a while. Let's go to GBDC. GBDC having a little bit of a down close on the day, but GBDC actually, if you were showing me GBDC, I would say this is a little bit more on the a little bit more on the bear side. GBDC, a very obvious head and shoulders, but again, going to depend on where it opens up today. Looking at the weekly, weekly doesn't look too hot, to be honest with you. Weekly Stokes crossing down. We got daily right over here. They are going to be they're getting kind of overdone there a little bit. Again, from GBDC's perspective, as long as we remain above 983, this yellow 21 right here, it's okay, I suppose. If we do lose that area, then again, it's not necessarily a death sentence. I would be looking for a move back down to $9 even, and then if we break that area, then we can start talking about moves back down to the high sevens. But for right now, gonna be following spot, and of course not trading during these hours as it trades OTC with the traditional markets. Not only that, but I did forget to check out the longs and shorts. I really haven't been doing this in a while, but I suppose it is still relevant. We do see longs a little bit outweighing the shorts right now. We do have a few of these guys hedged as well, so 1.25, so about 17,000 open naked shorts versus 19,000, about 20,000 open longs. Again, a little bit of an imbalance in favor of the longs. We do have longs paying a lot more of a rate, 0.0551%. Again, not super high, but certainly not low. Is starting to be at the point of consideration for people holding positions for the long term. And shorts paying just about no rate. I mean, that is inconsequential as far as as far as I'm concerned. So again, if you had to lean one way off that, I'd still say it's completely inconclusive. Neither side is that high, and that's really what where I found those metrics to be most reliable. And when we're talking about them kind of in the 20s or even below 20, which we are right now, it's like, okay, it's people can throw on 10,000 more coins and still not move the needle all that much. Maybe not the 20,000 coins and we have something major to talk about, but just want to show that there's a lot of room for interpretation there, and it's just nothing super conclusive. Crypto Fear and Greed Index, we are taking out at 61, but more importantly, we did get all the way down to, what was this? We got down to about a 27 just a few days ago, and that should have been a very obvious signal to me. I wasn't watching this at the time, but looking back on it in hindsight, and this is a little bit of hindsight trading right here, but that would have been a great signal. That was on that down to about 7,500. The market getting very irrationally fearful for just a second. You can see that just going over the past years of price action history, we do see that during the bear market, we spent a lot of time, in the fearful zone between a 30 and a 10 essentially, and the highs were very short-lived, right? The more greedy, more optimistic periods were very short-lived. Boom, 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 boom. Just spending a few days there. Well, now we're doing the exact opposite, and this is just another marker kind of suggesting that the market's I suppose a little bit more healthy. But looking at this, we do see that Bitcoin's getting a lot more comfortable within the 40 to 70-ish region, like a little bit more on the neutral to slightly greedier side. And anytime that we have a spike down, it gets picked up rather quick. So that is worth mentioning. But overall, again, when we're coming down to like actual trading on the lower time frames, this is what we're looking at. Am I stupid? What's it called? Lisp or stutter. And really not too much else. So if I did have to take a trade here, I wouldn't take a trade here. But if I do have to say something, I would say that we probably have a little bit of down here. But overall, I guess I'm still slightly bullish, I suppose. Need to see this area break before I think any sort of a next trade idea is really valid. But if we do see this area break, then yeah, it probably does float back up towards 8,600 and beyond. And we see it just generally follow Litecoin. Let's go check out the other top shitcoins. Mr. Beaterall right over here. What is he doing? We do see daily kind of mimicking Bitcoin's moves. We do see a closure regaining the blue 377 and the yellow 21. And we do see daily Stokes bottoming out and crossing the upside. So again, I don't like trading against these. I do think that the direction is just going to float it up here most likely. Ooh, Jesus, man. Ground beef coming up right now. Weekly looks bad though. I really can't. I really have a hard time discounting what the weeklies are doing on a lot of these coins. Pretty much everything besides Litecoin looks not good on the weekly. I'll put it that way. If I'd have just judged the weekly, I would be bearish on just about everything except for Litecoin. And this, in this one, no less. If this one wants to break down, 210 will be the target, 210 to 215. But for right now, I suppose the same thing as Bitcoin, right? As long as we're above we can make a quick decision before 230. I'd say maybe above 237. It's generally okay. But the second that you lose that, then we're probably talking about 210 to 215 once again. But for right now, also same thing as Bitcoin, right? We got this resistance right here. I already have it in there. Put a nice little boxy box territory. There we go. And we could do one to the downside right over here. And something like this from about 236 to 232. And anything within there, just range trading, nothing too crazy. Let's go check out the other top shitcoins. Mr. Cardano, we got 1050. And again, this just take this chart and apply it to any altcoin. I know, it's I know it's a little bit of a blanket generalization statement, so I do apologize about that. But if I could just say something for just about every altcoin out there, they look some variation of this, just a very disgusting chart for the past year, just straight down, and then now trying to put it in a nice little accumulation pattern on the on our daily and also weekly. And I do think that these guys are bottoming out and trying to put in lows here. And I do think that ultimately Cardano is going to move up to like 1200 and 1250, 1300, and probably beyond there. It's probably putting in a nice low here, just like most things are, but they're taking their time. And you'll know this to be true if you can plot out a nice symmetrical triangle of some some shape and size on this current lows, and you can see that Cardano has a very obvious and well-defined one here. So a break above about 1075, and I'd be looking for that move much higher towards 1200 and beyond. By the same token, if we do break below like 1030, then we got some problems. But right now, okay, and I do give the nod to the upside here. BNB, same thing as Bitcoin, a little bit of a better close actually, regaining all major moving averages. I do think that it has some downside here, maybe back to 31 and 15 cents, but I do think that it gets picked up there, and we do march our way onwards and upwards. We do see daily Stokes pointing back up, very erect. We do see daily RSI just consolidating between the bullish control zone and the neutral zone. So this is a bullish consolidation as far as I'm concerned. And looking at the weekly, again, weekly is similar to Bitcoin, similar to Butyrol, not good. I don't like it. But lower time frames suggest that it's not so much bearish. If you see weekly stocks down, I'm really struggling with a lot of these charts on the weekly. I really wouldn't want to be long on the week based off the weekly on a lot of these guys. But okay, I suppose, especially on those lower time frames, just needs to maintain about $31. If $31 is let go to the downside, we close like a 4-hour doodle below there, then we can start talking about 26 to 27 bucks. But for right now, not so much, man. I give the nod to the bulls here, especially with, do we have some hidden bullish divergence here? We do not. We actually don't. Let's see, Zcash. What's Zcash doing? Zcash, same thing as everything else pretty much. Needs to hold this current level that it's actually on right now, otherwise problems. Let's see what the 12-hour looks like. Yeah, 12-hour coming back down. Obvious support right around $78. If $78 does give way, then we can talk about a move back down to about 71 and maybe further south. But for right now, we see 12-hour Stokes to the downside, daily Stokes down as well. But it's going to follow the rest of the market, of course, as we spoke about before. And more importantly, weekly is kind of on support as well. So this weekly, not as bad as the other ones, but then again, we see weekly also is still coming down. Yeah, again, it's going to follow the rest of the market. Bcash, what are we doing here? Under a little bit of pressure, actually not looking as good as the other majors. Did not regain the major moving averages here, and in fact getting rejected by them right now. But we do see the same sort of setup on the daily Stokes wanting to cross back up to the upside. It's just one of those things. We're going to see the market pretty much move together, and I don't think that Bcash is going to make a move to the downside while the rest of the market does not. But does it have some downside in the lower time frames here? Yeah, probably does come back down to like 385. Maybe even 382 and a half, but I do think that it bounces from there. Tron Cash, what's Tron Cash doing? Maybe a little bit of downside here towards 3 cent even, but actually, yeah, daily doesn't look too hot either. You know what? I could get bearish off the daily. I could do that. I could do that. Let's see what the weekly looks like. Weekly is actually in a completely different posture than the rest of the market. Look at this. Weekly stocks still up and at 'em. Weekly dildos, though, however, not looking so hot. Again, these are very difficult reads on these one. I do have a hard time saying that it's going to do anything different than the rest of the market. So I do think that there Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, a lot more easy to read than something like this. But shorter term, yeah, 3 cent support. Would be looking for a small term bounce around there, and then we'll kind of reassess. Neo, same sort of thing. Maybe back down to 1180. Trading range very obvious, 1230 to basically that 1180ish region. EOS, what's EOS doing? Looks like it wants a little bit of down here as well, perhaps, and maybe back down. Let's go to a 2 hour. See what this one's looking like. I mean, the range is quite well defined now, isn't it? You got this guy right over here. You got this guy to the upside. Maybe it's best on a 4 hour. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, better on a 4 hour. Anything within this range, just no change really. Did get rejected by the 200 exponential, so this one does lead a little bit more to the downside. Maybe back down to 617. Maybe back down at 617, and then we'll look for a bounce there on shorter term time frames. Ripple me nipples. What is he doing? What is he doing? Sultry little boy. Daily stocks still headed down, but what are we doing here? This is obviously going to be wrong. Are we just rekindling in this area right here? I think it's too early to say. Just one of those times where I don't feel too confident in this market. If I had to look at Ripple, I would say it actually wants to come back down to 36.5 cents. Yeah, I would say that 36.5 cents right around here. That is the daily 200, but resilient in this. Again, if Bitcoin moves up here, Ripple's going to follow. I don't feel strongly about this chart either which way. I really don't feel strongly about it. Monero, a little bit on the better side, I suppose you could say. Daily stokes back up. We do see it regaining the 21, so I do think that it does probably pop back up here, run its way back to 91.5, something like that. But again, the weekly staring us right in the face. Not looking good, not looking pretty. What's Stellar doing? Stellar, again, same thing. Weekly doesn't look good here. It does not look good. Daily looks like it wants some up. So do I say some lower time frame up? Maybe back to like 12.5 cents, 12 or maybe even 13 cents. Possible, certainly very possible. It looks like it's kind of flagging out here on the lower time frames. Weekly doesn't look like that. So could it be that the weekly is just being sloppy and it's the daily to go off of? Maybe. Could it be the opposite? Maybe as well. I don't have an opinion here. I'd have to go with the rest of the market. I would say that Bitcoin on the daily looks like he does want to pop up. On the daily, yes, but on very low time frames, no. The very low time frames look like they want to come down a little bit, maybe towards 78.80, 78.70, 78.50 region, so somewhere right around here. But overall, this is probably like one of the least helpful videos I've ever posted. I do apologize about that, but this is the truth. This is my true thoughts right now. The only reason why I'm in a trade is because I got into it yesterday during that little bit of a breakout. I'm happy to play the position right here, but I will have to reconsider if I want to take profits. If I want to take profits here while I have some, or give up most of them and maybe just take a very small amount. But overall, this is what I'm looking at. Blue box right over here, 8,000 to 81.50, and blue box right over here, 7,600 to, or sorry, about 7,650 to 75. Any sort of a break out of those areas, and we do have a new medium-term direction to the upside. Generally just going to be bullish back to the prior highs and likely beyond to the downside. 7,200 to 7,100 would be the first area of interest, although I do think it bounces there, probably doesn't hold. We probably see further downside into the mid to low 6,000s. So again, Bitcoin kind of set it up for a major move. I do think that we get a major move likely this week. And when I say major move, I mean $1,000 plus. So we are getting set up here, but I don't think it's ready just yet. And this is probably one of the better days to just watch. I mean, of course, just set your alerts as well. If it does happen to take out these areas, then we just enter in. But if I had to guess, I would say that this looks like we want to do some more consolidation, some more boringness, and well, if you're anything like me, you know how boring that is. So that's going to do it for today, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. I'll be back on later with some more live stream analysis. Hopefully we get some more moves by then. But if not, might be a little bit of a slower day. So take care and see you soon.